Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Dave Zirin is joining us on the phone. He's the best-selling author and Nation magazine's sports editor. We're here to talk about the movie where he lends his expertise, not just a game, power, politics, and American sports. There's a screening going on locally here in Amherst, Massachusetts at Amherst Cinema on December 12th at 7:30 p.m., including a Q&A with Dave Zirin. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So whenever people say sports and politics don't mix, I always think of Jackie Robinson. More significantly, as a sideshow distraction, I think of the Tim Tebow anti-abortion thing last Super Bowl. I think about the controversy in Arizona surrounding SB 1070. I mean, sports and politics, to say that it is apolitical, the world of sports, would just be flat wrong, would it not?
Oh, of course. I mean, you mentioned Jackie Robinson, and we could also talk about Muhammad Ali in the 1960s, Billie Jean King. I mean, there's a reason why these associations exist. It's because politics reflected into the world of sports. But even if there had never been one activist athlete in history, even if we didn't have any of these examples, there's the fact that sports is, in the most normal times, is used as a platform for a certain kind of politics, like public funding for stadiums is good, and fealty to the flag, and all the support the troops messages at stadiums, like Military Appreciation Night, which is a regular feature of going to the ballpark. I mean, David Petraeus flipped the coin at the Super Bowl the year before last, for goodness sakes. So
Right.
There's always been politics at the park. Agree with those politics or disagree with them, and that is politics.
That's right. I mean,
that is politics.
One narrative is whether athletes specifically should or shouldn't be political, and most choose not to be, some are. But the other issue which you bring up is whether the sports industry, the sports business, which is what it is in the U.S., is inherently political, and the answer is yes. And I think that there is this, tell me if you disagree, under a very thin guise of being non-political, sports in the U.S. have kind of created this wholesale acceptance and embrace of a lot of conservative principles. I mean, militarism, which you mentioned, corporatism. We have stadiums named after companies. The values and practices of those companies are barely ever mentioned, at least when it refers to sports. And I would even argue homophobia and sexism are part of that culture, too.
Sure. You know, all of these things have become very ingrained in the world of sports. I mean, I live in a town where people root for a team called the Redskins, for goodness sakes. And people here might not think that's political, but I'm sure in many parts of the country, certainly including the Black Hills of the Dakotas and Arizona and New Mexico, I'm sure it's seen as quite political that there's Redskins love here in Washington, D.C. Now, there's so much politics to sports, and there's so much, I think, political economy, like the politics of economics that run through sports, like this idea that says it's okay to socialize debt and privatize profit, that people should give money for stadiums, and that money automatically turns into private profit for owners. And this is what the film, Not Just a Game, really attempts to look at critically, which is the way, first of all, it just aims to demolish this idea that sports aren't political,
Right.
and then it aims to take it to the next step, which says if sports are political, then we should be claiming it and having out these political battles in the world of sports and not just give up the game.
But what if people just say, you know what, I'm not denying that these things exist, but I just like the team, I just pay attention to the sports, I don't care nor want to know about any of the other stuff, and quite frankly, I'm not influenced by it, I just follow the team. What would you say to that?
I'd say to them, well, you better turn on to the political part of sports, or that political part of sports is going to turn on you. I mean, you look at a situation like in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where the Mississippi River Bridge collapsed the very week that they were going to break ground on a new $300 million publicly funded stadium. Or you look at Washington, D.C., where $1 billion baseball stadium publicly funded opened within a calendar year of the Metro train going off the tracks. Or you look at Hurricane Katrina and the way the Superdome was really the homeless shelter of last resort and became utterly uninhabitable within hours of people being herded in there. I would say, like, you need to pay attention to this stuff because it actually has a very, very intimate effect on all of our lives. This isn't about you volunteering your time to care about sports. I mean, this is about our communities, our cities, our very lives.
Let's talk a little bit specifically about the military component. I mean, to me, it seems hypocritical, and maybe that's not exactly the right word, that while there is this idea that sports aren't political, the U.S. military is basically promoted without any precondition or discussion or mitigation as patriotic, and there's not even a question about the merits and what the military is doing. I mean, it's not only with the flyovers and all of that, but as you mentioned, military appreciation, and there's a lot of commercials that are specifically targeted at those who watch sports by the military, are there not?
Yeah, and we have a whole section of the film specifically devoted to Pat Tillman, the U.S. Army Ranger, former NFL player, who died, and then the situation around his death was, his family was lied to on every which way but loose. And we have that section in the film, because it exposes it the most sharply, everything you just described. Because here you have Pat Tillman. Here you have his family that is just clamoring for truth and justice regarding the way that their son, their brother, their husband died. And you have the NFL and Fox, and there's a scene in there of Fox Sports, still just using the memory of Pat Tillman as this fallen soldier without even hinting at the circumstances or controversies around his death.
Right.
I mean, there's a form of just a vulgar historical censorship when the Fox NFL pregame show takes place from Bagram military base in Afghanistan, and they show the new USO center at Bagram called the Pat Tillman Center.
Right.
And all the people who do the NFL show, like Jimmy Johnson, Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, they're all wearing fatigues. And you would never know that Pat Tillman thought the war in Iraq was illegal. You would never know that the circumstances around his death are fishier than the entire South Street seaport.
Right. Well, originally,
never know any of this
just
stuff.
to I believe that I'm right in saying originally it was reported that he died in some kind of heroic circumstances. We weren't given the exact details. It turned out it was friendly fire. Doesn't make his death any less tragic, but it is not even we could argue that after the media found out that initial story was inaccurate, it was continually reported for some time, was it not?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about it that was so terrible, is that his family was lied to. There was a nationally televised funeral that was broadcast on ESPN.
Right.
And that lies were told over his dead body. And they painted a fake picture of what the truth was about this individual. And even the idea that he died in friendly fire, I mean, there's still tons of questions about it. Because Pat Tillman was turning against the war. He was reading Noam Chomsky. He was calling it illegal to whoever would listen, the fact that he'd done so many missions in Iraq. And then this crazy firefight happens, and he's the only one who dies with a 3-bullet cluster on his chest. I mean, it's at the very least, it demands a serious investigation.
Absolutely.
And we haven't gotten anything. And his family just wants a measure of truth. And what's so terrible about it, though, is that, for me, in looking at it, is that we have to remember that the people who own NFL teams, I mean, these are billionaires. They're some of the most influential people in the United States. They have not lifted a finger. I've interviewed Pat's mother. They have not lifted a finger to influence Washington, D.C., to help her get at some of the closed records and redacted statements to find out the truth of how her son died. So
yeah, it's incredible.
Like I said, this is why we took. I mean, and it's a 58-minute film, and obviously some tough decisions were made about what to do and what not to do in terms of what we wanted to talk about with the whole panoply of politics and sports. But it seemed like the Tillman story was absolutely essential.
The film is, of course, not just a game, Power, Politics, and American Sports. There's a screening this December 12th, 7:30 p.m. Dave Zirin will be there. It's at Amherst Cinema in Amherst, Massachusetts. Thanks so much, Dave, for talking to us today.
Oh, my privilege. Can't wait to be there.
All right, so Lewis, let's take a break. We'll come back with more, and we will also announce the winners of our second biggest subscription state. There's a bunch of winners. You'll want to stay tuned and find out if you are one of those.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The David Pakman Show is made possible by listeners like you and by Greenfield Savings Bank, building strong communities one account at a time, with offices in Greenfield, Amherst, Conway, Shelburne Falls, South Deerfield, and Turners Falls, and online at greenfieldsavings.com. By the Daily Hampshire Gazette and GazetteNet.com, connecting our communities with local news and information. By DIF Design, specializing in custom business websites at DIFdesign.com. Find out more about underwriting The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.